Okay, so this is kind of cool. It's going to be difficult for people with small screens to see, but I do have some stills that will help them out. Um, Crrowette was filming and she found a very interesting object that I could not detect with the binoculars, and we could not detect it with normal telescope use. So what happened here was the auto lighting was on the camera, and I'll show you how she did it. And people can use this technique. So right now the camera's just filming the moon and she's scanning around. Now auto lighting is on. Now watch what happens as the moon goes out of frame. See how the auto lighting takes over and it begins brightening things? Just below center there's a little blue dot. I didn't circle it here. I'll circle it in a center. In a second, I mean. There it is. Now with the auto lighting, what it did was it enabled the lighting to pick up this object. Now we couldn't see it with our eyes. We couldn't see it with binoculars. And nothing you could do visually. So basically this technique was kind of stumbled on, but it was very cool that she caught it this way. This is a blue object. It's blinking, and as you can see, as the moon moves, it's locked in step with the moon. So the first thing you'd expect is it's a star, and at the end of this I'll show you that it's not a star. Now right here, if you look carefully, you can see the outline right outside the moon that shows you the dark part of the moon, and this object is very close. There will be another still in a second, and you can see that. So here comes the next still. As soon as this next still comes in, look at the arcing light. You can see where the dark part of the moon is, and that light is almost touching it. It's very close to the moon. And I'll zoom in here again a little bit closer. It's going to be tough to encode. If you look at it like in Windows Media Player, unencoded, just straight from the camera, it's blinking, and it's very blue. There it is sitting there. This is the last still. We took 3 stills. I think I zoom in on this one as well at 600%. And by the way, all those other pixels you see are either hot pixels or bad pixels. Those red objects are just camera malfunction. There's a few white pixels as well. Those just need to be repaired. So now here's the clip itself, and I'm going to zoom in on the object, and you can kind of see that it's blinking. There's so much noise. I don't know how this is going to encode. When you have the auto lighting set, this is what happens. Normally we don't do it this way because of the amount of noise you get. Usually manually set things. And I'll run a couple clips here. I don't know how this is going to be for folks who are on handheld devices or iPads, but the stills let you see what we're seeing. And I'm going to zoom out here. Sorry, the tracking's not so great. It's kind of hard to track when you're zooming in and zooming out with a circle. But you can see it stays locked to the moon. And again, you would expect it to be a star, but it is not a star. So it's interesting. Okay, there's going to be a UFO here coming in from the bottom left. I've slowed this down 50%, and there it went. I'm going to show you that same portion unzoomed again in real time. So look to the lower left portion of the moon. It's going to skirt across the right corner of frame. There it went. We saw a ton of these the other night, and when I was working with DSW-74, those were the objects we were confirming. Okay, here it is zoomed again, and I'm going to run it in a second slowed way down so we don't have to see so much camera jiggle, which is actually the technique being used to let the auto lighting make this little object become visible. It's dead center in the screen, and now it's going off screen, and you can see the auto light correcting back to the moon. Okay, so here's the last view of it, and I've lightened this a bit to try to reduce the noise, and I've slowed it down to 30%, but you can see that it's blinking, and unfortunately in real time it's easier to see the blink, and I have no idea how well this is going to encode, but it's definitely a little object that's not a star, that was blue and kind of blinking whitish blue to very dark blue. And again, you know, we had the binoculars out. After she found this, I put the binoculars up there. I couldn't see it with the binos at all. The reason is because the wash, the light wash from the moon is so intense, and that's why the scope couldn't see it until she used this technique. So it's kind of a cool thing if you have an auto lighting setting and you're looking at the moon, to just push over till the moon's going out of frame, and maybe sometimes we can catch things like this. It's hard to tell how far it is, but it's definitely locked at an even distance from the moon. As we zoom out, you can see that. As the pan happens, you can see that. So sorry it's not easy. I'm sure when this encodes it's going to look a little worse than it does here, but I wanted to try to give you the shots of it. And you can see with the stills it's interesting. And here's Stellarium. Okay, just to show you that this was not a star, I have stellarium set up here for the night this occurred. I think it was actually 8:51. So actually, if we want to go exact, that's the timestamp on the... okay, here's the moon. Zoom in. And you can see... in the first still I show you, you can see, or the first couple stills, you can see the dark part of the moon in the still. So that object would be sitting right about here, very close. So there it is, no stars listed in stellarium. Cheers.